So if you all don't mind muting yourselves, we're going to just take a couple of grounding breaths and I'm going to facilitate a brief visualization to get us started with Susan, who we're so excited to have with us. Um, and whenever you're ready, sit back, relax, feel free to close your eyes and take the deepest breaths that you have taken all day. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Allowing a moment for your mind to catch up with your body. Fully dropping in and being present. Noticing the entry point of the air filling your nostrils, cleansing you on a cellular level. Helping support you be absolutely present in this moment right now. Feel free to access a neck roll, get cozy in your seat. All the while taking deep inhales and slow exhales, as slow as you can through your mouth. Exhaling little sips even when you think you can't at the end there. Noticing any noises that may come up, any sensation. Just noticing, not fighting them. Continuing to be grounded in your breath. On your next cycle of breath, you may like to visualize a light pouring in through your scalp, releasing tension in your forehead, your eyes, your jaw, through your neck, your shoulders, your back, all the way through your pelvis, your seat, your thighs. Visualizing the light cleanse you of any tension through your knee, your calf, all the way through your ankles, the little tiny knuckles on your toes. Releasing anything that does not serve you in this moment on your next exhale. Any energy that you may notice is just not yours. You can return to sender. Sealing that in with the next cycles of breath. Noticing any points of connection, your back on your seat, your bottom on your chair, your feet on the floor. Reflecting, perhaps with gratitude for this moment of stillness and all of us together. Slowly preparing to come back to the room, knowing you can come back here whenever you like. Taking your last couple of cycles of breath on your own, all in good time. You may want to flutter your eyes open, wiggle your toes. Come back and join us. Feel free to shift around till you're comfortable and come on back. All right, let's get started here. Susan, we're so excited to have you for our first iteration of our new speaker series. So thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. It's fun to see a lot of familiar faces.
Yeah, all the same. All right, everybody. So let's see here. Just give me one moment. Okay. So we have got Susan Seeley with us. We've got to close some windows here. All right. We are honored to have her, Susan Seeley, the Director of Partnerships at ALLMEP, that is the Alliance for Middle East Peace. For those of you that don't know, ALLMEP is a coalition of over 180 organizations. I thought it was 170. Susan corrected me. It's now 180. Organization Organizations building people-to-people partnerships and laying the groundwork for a just and lasting peace in the region. Susan brings decades of leadership in nonprofit management, peace building, and community development. She's held national and international roles, from serving as the National Executive Director for NAAMAT USA to directing the Olive Tree Initiative at UC Irvine. She's also deeply engaged in Jewish leadership and interfaith work, and has a special passion for promoting peace, women's empowerment, and environmental sustainability. Again, we're grateful to have you, Susan, not just to share about ALLMEP's work, but also your personal journey, your perspective on grassroots organizing, and your thoughts on how we here in LA can play a meaningful role in supporting movements such as Standing Together. Please join me, everyone, in welcoming Susan Seeley. And I'm going to pass the mic to you. If there's anything that you want to add, if there's anything that I missed in the intro, go ahead, and then we'll get into some questions.
No, you did a wonderful job. I just would say that there are Israeli and Palestinian peace building organizations located in the region because sometimes people are curious, like, are they based here? And they do work there, but they're all, native to the region. So, yeah.
Beautiful. Thank
Yep.
you. That's an important detail.
Hmm.
And I see that there is already a comment in the chat. So just so you all know, I'm not going to be paying attention to that because otherwise I can't focus. We do have Tali. She's going to help us out. And we are going to address questions at the end. So feel free to send in your questions and know that we will get to them at the end, given how much time we have left. All right. So, Susan, you've had such a rich career spanning politics, education, and nonprofit leadership. Can you tell us what drew you personally into the field of peace building and cross community partnerships in the first place?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that goes back a long time, probably when in this specific area, like so Israel, Palestine, is when I lived in a Palestinian village town called Tamra, which some of you may have heard of. It's in the north, it's just north of Haifa. And that experience while I was going to the University of Haifa just kind of opened my eyes to the complexities and nuance of what was happening, as you all who are more understanding of the complexities and nuance of the situation would appreciate. And it really burgeoned from there. And I participated in kind of local community organizations. There was something called the Cousins Club, for those of
Mhm.
you who might have known about that. That was long ago. So
I love
um,
that name.
it is a great name. Yeah, it was here in Orange County. It was local Jews and Palestinians who were getting together and having conversations. Then I was on the board of what was then called the now I'm going to forget it. Uh, and see, oh my gosh, somebody help me. It was Jews and Christians. Now it's like Jews and community members. Now I've totally forgotten the name of it. It was a national organization bringing Jews and Christians together, and now I've completely forgotten the name of it. But I was on a board of that. So it's just been but even more building bridges, combating bigotry, combating dehumanization, building inclusive spaces, building empathy and understanding and compassion has always been something that compelled me to work. One of my students said to me, I remember a while ago, and I was talking about my different involvements and things, and she said, how can you be doing all of these things And I said, I just can't not do these things.
Yeah.
And it's the Pirkei Avot, like we can't run, we may not solve anything, but nor can we desist from the trying. And that's been really what's impelled me.
Beautiful. And I don't blame you for not remembering the name. You're working with so many organizations. You must have to keep track of so much detail.
Well, thank you. And also
Yeah.
the age thing. And yeah, I always need a ask a friend kind of thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
or Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Yona. Yes.
Sure.
We feel each other. Yeah.
Yeah. Many hearts I see
Yeah.
going around. Also, I mean,
A meet. Yes.
okay. Right. And for those who are not familiar, can you give us a snapshot of ALLMEP's mission and what makes it unique in the landscape of Middle East peace building efforts?
Yes, of course. As I joke with people, I'll tell you my 30-minute elevator pitch. It's because it's sometimes hard to wrap one's head around. But I will say, at the basic level, we do two primary things, and that's you touched on. We're a network of 180 Israeli and Palestinian growing network. It's
Yeah.
when I first came on board, we were at 160, I want to say, and that was just over a year ago. So we are a growing network of 180 peace building, Israeli-Palestinian peace building organizations in the region. And we, to them, represent an ecosystem of peace builders, and we leverage the power of the collective and give voice in a way that they can't as individual members do. And we provide them with services. We don't fund them, but we provide them with services that we can get into later on. And then at the other level, we do international advocacy. So I have colleagues in Berlin and London and DC and Paris who each are really well networked with governments in those countries and others. And we are pushing hard to have civil society represented at all levels of diplomacy around this area and this conflict. Um, it's our theory of change is loosely modeled on that of what was done in Northern Ireland, for those who are familiar
Mm,
with what happened in Northern Ireland back in the day, and at a time when people thought, Middle East peace is just around the corner, it's easily solved. But the conflict in Northern Ireland was the most violent, up to that point, and was never going to be solved. And then the international community put their financial efforts and attention into, the US, particularly in the UK, and different organizations and some private individuals, in a way that was able to transform that conflict by supporting civil society, supporting programs, particularly those that addressed youth and bringing together of youth around sports and education and different areas. And because the communities were being touched in such a significant way and coming to know the other, when the diplomats at this level came were pushed towards political agreement with the Good Friday Agreement, it was sustained by the efforts of the people on the ground as well. So our theory of change is this top-down, bottom-up approach, that we are convinced has the best chance, it's what is needed, regardless of what happens at the end of the day with diplomatic processes, whether that's one state or two states or a confederation or whatever that looks like. If civil society isn't brought along and civil society voices and leaders aren't included in what that looks like and how that works, it's not going to be sustainable. And that's what we've seen happen with Oslo and those kinds of agreements that have failed to be sticky. So, and then I'll say lastly, so those are our two main kind of tracks, but those are both also pointing towards an establishment of an international fund for Israeli-Palestinian peace, which is the way that we aim to get international buy-in and foundational and diplomatic buy-in for the support for civil society. And we can talk about it. I don't know if you want to kind of go over some other questions, but I'm happy to talk about, how that really works in terms of, the G7 communique and the E3 countries and what's been happening with them and what we've seen in Paris. There was the Paris Peace Conference, and then in New York, the New York call, and then UNGA is happening this next week. And so there's kind of been an whole arc of diplomacy that we've been working on.
So this is a great time to remind the audience because we've got about 13 or so questions. If you all have more deep questions about anything that Susan is sharing, go ahead and put them in the chat. And pending how much time we have, we can address those. Because I feel like all of these questions, we can have a whole curriculum for them. I know that even after just a few, I'm learning a lot. So
Good. Yeah.
okay. But I'm hearing just from this answer, diplomacy and also know your neighbor, build partnership, build community, build connection with your neighbor. Because if you know your neighbor, you're going to, be family and defend your neighbor. And that's when you said sticky, like I was really thinking about that. And that's important. And we can't have progress without that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so moving on to the next question. So ALLMEP is an umbrella for so many grassroots organizations, 180 and growing. Can you tell us some examples of on-the-ground projects or partnerships that have inspired you lately?
Yeah, sure. And this is a visual aid that I like to bring with me and show to people. It's our deck of cards. And so each one of these cards, it's hard for you to see probably, but each one of these cards, this has our tagline, peace is only
Love that.
possible for by popular demand. But each one of these cards has a different, organization on it. So if you imagine more than three times this amount, because this is a deck of 52 cards. So
Mm.
like just right here at the beginning, we have eco peace is right at the top. So many of these I don't actually know yet but hand in hand, we all know. Standing together, of course. I can't read these because I don't have the right glasses on. This one is, I can't even say it. Merchavim, Peace Players, A New Dawn in the Negev, One Voice. So anyway, Paris Center, Givat Haviva. Hopefully some of these names are familiar to many of you. Of course, Arava Institute, Peace Drum Step. I mean, there's so many. Oh, this one's great. Squash Bond, working through squash, the sport of squash. Holy Land Trust, Tahir. Anyway, Search for Common Ground. Anyway, all of those, and by the way, the YMCA. So all of
Huh.
those organizations are member organizations, and so some of the ones, I mean, we just had many of you, I think, came. We had an online meeting with Ajik Nisbed, who are doing tremendous work with the Bedouin and South Israel community, particularly with Israeli Arab populace and women, and they're doing a capital campaign right now for the Vivian Silver
Mm.
Community Center, which is going to be like a space for NGOs in the region to use as a shared workspace, but also a convening space and also a place for meetings and for some of their classes and things like that. And they do terrific work in terms of, and I've used them a lot recently as an example of when people get into these conversations with me about, what's Netanyahu going to do and what's Trump going to do and what's, one state and I don't agree with the two state and the this and the that. And I said, well, whatever it is. And whenever Netanyahu, leaves, and there has to be something that to fill that void that's going to be left. It can't be just we're all focused on the diplomacy and the politicians. These people are waking up at a Jeekness bed. So this was my example. They're waking up every day and they're putting young adults into gap year programs with corporations, and they're doing, educational I swear, words are failing me. It's also later in the day. Exchanges and things like that, and Arab Jews Jews are working together to just promote learning and promote career training and to hold legal clinic services and things like that. That's all happened.
Beautiful.
No matter who, who's in who's the who's in charge and who's not of any country. So them tech to peace. Of course, you all know tech to peace because our friend Adnan
Yes.
was at tech to peace. I describe them. I've met with them in Israel, and it's like a bunch of, and apologies to any of you who fit the description, but like a bunch of computer nerds who just want to get together and talk computer stuff and game, and you figure out what the best way is to advance their career in tech and computer, and with an intentionality around a shared society and
Yeah.
an intentionality around building peace and building trust and having difficult conversations. And that's, to me, is so inspiring and so remarkable. And I don't want, I can, as you can tell, I can go on and on and on any of these topics.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep doing that. Let's have you ask me. I mean,
Sure.
I have all sorts of organizations off the top of my head. A new one is Negative Coexistence Fund. They also do terrific work. Who else have I been working with recently? I mean, Itah Maki. I mean, you all, Project Rosanna. If you know Project Rosanna, if you don't, check them out. They're building a hospital in Ramallah. They do terrific work in the field of health and medicine. Um, we just have a brand new one that does animated. If anybody knew, it's called God's Gang is the name of their thing
Hmm.
of their yeah it's a literally an animated television series about like Torah stories and peace, and yeah, so they're one
Beautiful.
of our member organizations. So it's all over the place, but again, it's a little bit of a disconnect, the work that I'm doing. I mean, and standing together is one that I bring up all the time, of course, because you all are in Israel, Palestine, and here you are boots on the ground, and your efforts are inspiring to so many people and empowering. And it's the power, really the power of the collective, and speaking truth to power in so many ways. Um, so there's our activist groups like Standing Together, and others of that ilk, and then we've got women's issues groups, we have youth and education, we have sports, arts and culture, we've got tech organizations, we've got health and medicine, and then women's issues, unless I already said that. But yeah, those are
Yeah, but
kind
you can say it again because it's important. I gotta tell you, it's like hard to want to interrupt you because I feel, and I
of.
don't think that I'm the only one, but so many of us stay in a sunken place. It's very easy to be discouraged around Israel Palestine. And so to hear you talk about all of this like wide range of activity that's going on is already very uplifting. So I
Good.
appreciate it. Yeah. And heads up, I turned on closed captioning. Someone requested that. Sorry, I didn't do it sooner. I didn't even know I could do that. So there you all go. And sorry if that's distracting to anyone. So our next question for Susan is, let's see, how does ALLMEP measure success in its work, especially when the broader political climate can feel so discouraging?
One large indicator is the fact that we're a growing network. And, the fact that there's 180 organizations representing however many thousands, tens of thousands of Israeli and Palestinian citizens is remarkable. Um, I think that's the biggest indicator, because at the end of the day, even with our international advocacy, that's who we're supporting, right? Where the intention is to center those voices and to bring them to the table of diplomacy in a way that hasn't been done up till now. It just hasn't been. In fact, the at the Paris Peace Conference in June already, that was the first time that number of Palestinian Israeli peace builders had come and been in a diplomatic setting that was afforded them by under President Macron. So kudos to them for hosting that. Um, so that's and that's a huge level, a huge indicator of our success and the traction that we're getting is the way that we are being admitted into the quote unquote halls of power, and that people, the diplomats at higher levels are using our talking points, say.
Mm.
You know, my colleague and our executive director were at literally in 10 Downing Street. We got a picture from them standing in front of 10 Downing Street. You know, so they literally had a meeting with Keir Starmer before he went and spoke to the Labor Friends of Israel. So there's a so when you say even in this moment of discouragement and all that, that's what I'm. There's a bit of a disconnect in my work, is what I was pointing at earlier. Is just
Yes.
because there is of course all the horrible violence and despair and frustration that is the lived reality of so many people. And, you know, the people that we support and that we lift up are people who persist and resist and continue to do what they find meaningful or what brings them joy or what is just their job, in with this intentionality of doing it with the other, which isn't the other to them. It's just
Yeah.
they respect and that they are engaged with, and they're building a shared society that looks like the society they want to live in.
Beautiful. Okay, so now we're gonna do a bit of an intersection with standing together. I think that this is probably one of the questions that I hear most often, and audience members are usually chomping at the bit to ask this question. So, in your experience, what role can American supporters and diaspora Jews and Palestinians play in strengthening the impact of movements like ours and standing together?
Um, what role can they play? So it depends. I mean, with Standing Together and Unacceptable and J Street and organizations like those who are
Oh, oh, I think it's just my Bluetooth. Go ahead, keep going. Sorry, Susan.
okay, with those groups, I mean, the best way is to show up and lend their voice, right, and participate. And then another way is to support or I mean, to support organizations like ours financially. You know, philanthropy isn't just about money. It's about support. It's about engagement. Um, it's about lifting. The rising tide lifts all ships, right? So we and most people are not in a position to get out and demonstrate when they want to, or they can't always, I don't know, write letters to their congresspeople or whatever it is. So by selectively giving their money, and I was just, you know, engaged with somebody who literally gives us $3 a month, you know, like whatever you can do, because we're helping people like that move the needle in a way that's in alignment with their values. So I mean, I am a donor to philanthropic causes myself, and that's why I give, is because they're doing the heavy lifting. They're representing the voice that I want to be louder and be magnified. So, I mean, those are the obvious ways that people can get involved, and to engage with dialogue opportunities too, like common ground, right? What am I thinking of in
New
that one?
ground?
New
Is it
ground.
new ground?
Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Asking for a friend. I new ground. Yeah. Yeah, like new ground, where you're going to encounter new voices and new people, and like Amira.
Amira.
That's how Amira and I met, actually. We were sitting at the same table. So lucky day for me. Um, so yeah, I mean that's, you know, those may sound simple, but it's hard to do. All of those things are hard
Yeah.
to do because it's hard even to be engaged in this.
Well, I think it's so easy to get bogged down by noise. At least, I'm on social media. I was off, now I'm back on. My nervous system knows, and there's so many people saying if you're not following this formula, you're not doing it right. And so it's really easy to get bogged down by that. So I think it's a fair and good reminder that I love what you said, the rising tide lifts all ships. So yeah, I wrote that down to save it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, our next question, we've got two more, and then I think that we'll have a transition to Q&A. I did see a bunch already pop up.
Yeah. And I'm happy to answer those. Yeah.
So, what gives you hope right now, even in the midst of the painful realities we're witnessing in the region?
I mean, honestly, I'm a true believer, right? I'm a true believer in this work, and I'm a true believer in this theory of change, and it gives me hope, and the people that I work with give me hope. Their resilience, their tenacity, their humanism, their compassion, their um, just empathy. It's a bit of a, and I know there are a lot of people on this call who have this split screen life, right? Either you're from the region and you're living here, or you interact with the region real robust ways, or you just care deeply that people are being treated in inhumane ways. And I'm working, and I'm with our member organizations. I'm up very early because it's a whole different time zone over there. But and then I close my computer and I can walk out and get a glass of wine or whatever with my friends, whereas people in the region don't have that privilege.
Yeah,
So that's always on my mind. And it helps to inspire me and give me hope, because even my colleagues who are living in difficult circumstances, and the member organizations who have leaders who are living in difficult circumstances, they continue to do this important work, and without flagging, and without demonizing other people, and without dehumanizing, and without despairing, and without using politics of fear, which we see all around us. So, yeah.
politics of fear. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I also feel that you are noting at y- it's a concept of your activism should be in proportion to your privilege. And I feel like you are acknowledging that as well. Like the fact that I can go get some wine with my friends and I'm working with these member orgs, like, yes, of course, I'm going to do something with that. Look at what they're doing in much more difficult circumstances.
Sure. Yes. Yes. And we all can do what we can do. I mean,
Yeah,
there are all sorts of people need to give themselves grace too, and not guilt trip themselves, and not have anxiety about it. We can go in kind of waves and periods of where when we can do more, and we feel like we can engage more, we can support an organization more financially, or we can aspire to do it. So I also have a lot of grace around people for whom this isn't the biggest thing too. There are
yeah,
so many other issues in the world that need attention and healing, and presence, and speaking truth to power. So yeah, so
totally.
yeah.
Okay, that's important context. All right, our last question here before we move on to the Q&A. If you could leave our LA supporters with one action they could take to meaningfully support Israeli-Palestinian peace efforts, what would it be?
I mean, that's a softball to the person who does kind of development for an organization, but support ALLMEP, support standing together, support unacceptable, show up. I have to say I am more committed to showing up when I can. I just read a book that was really helpful to me, and some of you may have come across it. It's called Doppelganger by Naomi Klein. If you haven't, I suggest checking it out. Essentially, the cliff notes is that we need to show up. We have been sold a bill of goods and a story that this is all about the individual and how we can act as individuals, when in reality, it's that individuality and the parsing and the making you think that you can, that it's all on you, and the guilt and all that kind of prohibits us, and paralyzes us in terms of action, when really coming together and here and the dopamine effect of being around other bodies and being in the same space and lifting up as one voice and all of that is, and there's safety in that these days. I mean, there's also the growing reality of like we need to be safe in these spaces too. But yeah, show up. Just show up in whatever way you can. In LA, in Orange County, wherever.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan.
Mhm.
Um, Anything that you want to go back to? Any remarks before we transition?
No, I don't think so. I welcome anybody to reach out to me. It's easy. I'm Susan at allmep.org with for greater detail on any of these points because like I said, I can talk on and on and on about any of this. But I'm happy to get, thank you, Lillian. I'm happy to get to some of the questions. I did happen to, let me actually now I say that, and then I'm gonna talk about something. I did happen to print out this list of our member organizations that I thought might be interesting to people because one of our donors reached out to ask me who I knew who was of our network, who was doing kind of uh, uh, like what do you call it? Not just humanitarian work, but oh my gosh, really the words. Um,
Philanthropic?
like no, like emergency action,
Oh,
that kind of thing. And then also who's doing, because mentioned that we have many member organizations doing protective presence also. So I thought
right.
I just would read, in addition to Standing Together, of course, who's doing humanitarian kinds of actions. But we've got Arava Institute and their new project, the Demore Project, Project Rosanna, I mentioned, Perez Center, Search for Common Ground, Hechelutz, Children's Village Initiative, Eco Peace, Tomorrow's Women. Rami Aman is doing the Human Eye Peace Collective project. And then in the Protective Presence, it's UCPIP in Palestine, are the Rabbis for Human Rights, Achvat Amim, Looking the Occupation in the Eye, Standing Together, of course, and Holy Land Trust. So yeah, so that was encouraging to get that report from my colleague in the region. But yeah, like I say, I encourage anybody to reach out to me to learn more, and we can go to these questions.
Beautiful.
And Catherine, thank you. I love that. The high times 10. I hadn't even thought about that. So that's great.
I'm so glad that you read that because I'm Persian, so I was reading that as chai, and I
Oh,
was like, why would there be chai in
a
chai?
lot of
Just
chai.
did not
We just
understand.
gonna drench ourselves in chai, which is also a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. So I think I'm passing the mic to Tali here. Tali, would you like to read us the questions? And if not, I'm totally good to go.
Yeah, I can read some
Go
questions.
ahead. Go ahead.
Um, so you can also see them in the chat, but I'll just go by order. Catherine asks, has the BDS movement taken a position on the Fund for Israeli-Palestinian Peace?
No, not that I'm aware of. Um, but they also recently just mislabeled us and misattributed us, like, saying that we fund organizations and things like that. So I don't think that whomever is in authority kind of isn't really familiar with us or doesn't know what we really do. So no. Mm-mm.
Okay. Um, okay, Ruth is asking, are there examples of cross-border projects you
I
can?
saw that question, Ruth. And I'm sorry, I'm not coming up. The Aravat Institute is a good one, of course. EcoPeace also. And and the some of those ones that I talked about that we're doing the urgent urgent. There's a word that I'm just not coming up with.
Protective presence?
No, yes, protective presence also, but that are doing disaster relief. That's what I'm trying to say. Geez, like disaster relief. So those ones that I mentioned, and then of course Women Wage Peace is working with the Women of the Sun and those. But if you wanted to get a fuller list, you're welcome to reach out to me and I can get that for you.
Okay, great. And David was asking if Roots is one of these organizations.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, another question by Susanna. She has two questions. The first one is, as an umbrella organization, how do you make sure that some of these organizations collaborate and cooperate? Or I'm adding also, do they? I don't know. That they share resources with one another and that they all don't have to build their own programs from scratch.
Great question, Dafka. That's the value that we offer for many of our organizations. That's less so with larger organizations like Arva Institute, and Standing Together, but they also get value from being part of our network. So those categories that I mentioned earlier, we have actual affinity, what we call affinity groups, for each of those, and we hold meetings for each of those. And just recently, we're holding more meetings in Palestine itself, because we just won Jericho because it's too hard for Palestinians to get permits to go back and forth. So they come to us, and they're eager to share best practices with one another and to meet with one another. Particularly as it's been harder to move around freely. Make sure that they collaborate and cooperate, because they are anxious to. They also recognize that lifting up one lifts up the others as well. And yeah, building programs from scratch is just, don't reinvent the wheel.
That's really awesome. The other question is, do you still see knowing your neighbor and helping people on the other side as an effective tool for peace building on the ground after October 7th? Is it even possible in the current climate?
Woo, these questions, Susanna. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for these easy questions. Yeah, I think that's such a personal, individual question. I spoke with a woman today who kind of felt not, honestly, and yet, as I say, I'm working with people every day who do feel like that's the way forward. And that's the only way forward, really. That at its root, again, it's this being able to humanize the other, even in face of the terrible and egregious atrocities and horrendous situation, and people being held in captivity, and everything that people are having to look at and face, to be able to look at the person next to you and know that person isn't culpable, isn't in alignment with the violence and the hatred that had to be in place for those things to happen. To move forward with that trust. That's my understanding. That's where I'm putting my faith. That's where a lot of these people are putting their faith. But I completely understand when people lose that faith. It's really hard.
Okay. Next, yeah, thank you. It's a
Can I chime in,
oh yeah, go
Tammy,
ahead,
to
go ahead.
the I just want to say about this question. I'm so glad that it was asked. I feel that we at Standing Together have really been working on that. Like, I feel like I have never known my neighbor as well as I do now. And so, yes, it is possible. And yeah, Susan's right in that it depends, and your openness and accessibility will depend on you and your story. That's all I want to say.
Actually, I also want to say that um, I was drawn right after October 7th, like a few days after, to like that's how I got more involved in Standing Together, and I've discovered Combatant for Peace and New Ground, all these organizations. And when I was trying to send resources to my family, they did not take it well, and the reaction was more like, not relevant. What are you talking about? This is crazy. So I think some people in certain, by the way, it might have changed, I don't know. But in traumatic situations, especially being there, it could sometimes not be the right time for them, but perhaps later on, if we do the work, when they're ready, they might join, perhaps.
That's a great way of putting it. That's what
Thank you. Thank you all for your, Susanna speaking. Thank you all for your thoughtful and heartfelt answers. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Susanna. I think we have another question by Noah. What attempts are being made to engage the millions of American Jews who persist in being silent, neutral, etc., and who remain uninformed and or unwilling to engage and knowledge, I guess, be acknowledged with the catastrophe in Gaza and the West Bank?
Yeah. Um, I mean, you all, it's me and you. We're attempting to get the word out and to expose them to a different way of thinking and to a different, um, to get out of the binary, right? To free up their minds to thinking with more nuance and deeper understanding. Um, so person by person and gathering like this, but it's hard. It's really hard. I had a conversation with somebody who found us and wanted to know more, and he had been in he's an American, but his parents were Israeli. He'd been in the IDF and he was in Miluim during October 7th and based in LA, and he was despairing of kind of the traditional Jewish institutional leadership, and they're closing their eyes and forging forward with things that we know don't work kind of, approach. So help us get the word out, Noah, iPhone Noah. It's the more people who can expose, and as you say, Tali, it's also, that's a great way of putting it. It's preparing, it's laying the table for when they want to come and eat, right? You're just preparing the way, paving the way for when the aha moment happens, like this young man who had been in Miluim and all. It took him a while to come around and say, I need an alternative. I need to understand that there's a different way forward. So, and I have a lot of grace for people where they are and who might not be receptive because of trauma and stories that they need to tell themselves to be able to live and move forward. We all have the stories that we need, and it's hard sometimes to see anything different.
Yeah, thank you. There's
And sorry, Combatants for Peace is also a member organization, of course.
wonderful. So yeah, another question from Catherine, your neighbor.
I know.
Do you have any suggestions about the best way to educate Jewish American children about Israel, Palestine?
Yeah, that's really hard. I think we can all agree that's really hard. Yeah, I that's a whole nother conversation, isn't it? And I suspect that would be people who have more experience in childhood education, but um, yeah, I don't. To introduce them to Palestinian children. I think that this goes down all the way to the youngest that we can, is to learn early on that the other is not the other, that the other is me, and by a different kind of label that we have as a society have chosen and attributed to that person. So
I believe that there are also books, Catherine, I'm sorry, I don't know the titles, but there are developmentally appropriate books, depending on the child's age, And if that's something that you would want to review yourself before you hand that to a child or read it to a child. But Susan, I love what you said. Yeah, introduce them to Palestinian children. That's great.
Because then the parents will inevitably have to meet too.
Yeah, well, and I feel like the sooner that you become familiar with the unfamiliar, it's not scary anymore.
Exactly. Biduk.
Okay, I think that is the end of the Q&A, at least in the chat. Does anyone want to? Oh, David K, there you are. Go ahead, David.
This is a plug, not a question. Addressing the question that was just asked about getting mainstream Jews. So I'm also a member of the LA chapter of If Not Now. And Susan probably already knows, If Not Now, their national organization has like made a strategic decision to try to do this. And they've our local chapter is making a lot of noises about doing this and a concerted effort, and there's going to be training and strategizing. I'm actually on the committee that's supposed to tackle it. So far, it's just been talk, but I was at a local meeting where the paid staffer, I guess they have one paid staffer for the West Coast, and she said something encouraging. She said, so she's also working with their Bay Area, San Francisco chapter, and she said that If Not Now members in the Bay Area have been reaching out to us for assistance with how to raise these difficult issues within their congregations. So there's like more than one person in a congregation who's unhappy and wants to raise this with the rest of the congregation, and they don't know how to do it, and they're asking If Not Now for advice, which If Not Now is obviously very happily going to provide them with. The staffer also said, we haven't run into this problem yet in LA, but which is of course a less liberal place. But I thought that was encouraging. So, and I think quite frankly, Bibi's actions in this year make it easier because it's just become so black and white. So hope to report a lot more great stuff along these lines.
All right. Thank you, David. And I'm noticing we've got about 5 minutes left. We can wind down unless anyone else has a burning question. I want to be respectful of Susan's time.
Okay.
And of course, all of yours. Susan, it doesn't look like yeah, go ahead. I was just going to ask if there's anything else.
Going to say to David's point, I mean, I think that this is such an inflection point, right, in our communities and many other, I mean, also just domestically, where people, the circumstances are such that people are being kind of woken up in ways that they haven't had to wake up to before. People are just too uncomfortable and seeing things that make them too uncomfortable. So they're looking for answers. They're looking to hear new stories. So, and David, I think that's for you, if not now. So make sure you get that number down.
Yeah, Noah is asking to be connected. So if you want to
Yeah.
go ahead and network with Noah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Any other closing remarks, Susan, before we say
Just
goodbye?
thank you to all of you. Thank you to standing together. Thank you. I mean, Yona knows my heart, my spirit is with you, even if my physical body is not. And I will try to get up there as much as I can and join in physically too. So I'm pleased that you keep me in the loop, and I'm just glad to see you all here tonight. And yeah, this is so inspiring and uplifting for me, and it's great that we need to keep doing the work and showing up. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Susan. I feel the same. It was very inspiring. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, all about your work, all about these amazing projects that you know of. It's very important for us in these dark times to be able to see light as well. And thank you for our audience, everyone that was here today, everyone that asked questions. And as we leave here, I'm just inviting everyone to consider how they can carry on this work. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone. Thanks again, Susan.
Bye.